Okay, so hello and welcome to all of you to a new webinar, Brand Global Educational Network. I am Corina Shujda, the Global Executive Director in GEN, and today it's my pleasure of being your host in this event. Developing more inclusive education system is increasingly seen as an imperative, but also as a challenge across Europe and around the world. Contemporary views of inclusive education see it like an organizing principle that underpins school structures and processes. Inclusive education gives all learners equal learning opportunities in line with a rights-based approach to education. Promoting inclusive education system must be associated with a paradigm shift, challenging the idea that some learners will always be destined to fail. If inclusive education is not recognized as a central goal for educational policy, it will remain at the level of local practice and experimentation. Effective funding and resourcing systems are crucial for the successful implementation of general or specific policies of inclusive education, and simultaneously a change of attitudes and values in all stakeholders is required to support a transformation of schools so they can respond to all learners' needs rather than trying to fit them into existing provisions. So today, the Global Education Network has invited some special guests who will talk to you about this important topic, bringing to light examples of good practices that they have used. It is my pleasure to invite the first guest of the day to the stage. Julia Koifman. She was born in Ukraine, graduated from Simferopol State University in 1995 and got the MA degree in TAFL. In 1999, she immigrated in Israel and got the TEFL certification of Shannon College in Haifa in 2002. In 2006, she started teaching in Beit Eckstein High School for Special Education Needs. And in 2009, became an English coordinator in the same school where she still works. She has published some articles about overcoming dyslexia and others. Mr. Koifman is a member of EATA FL, TESOL, and ETI organizations, and a regular presenter at local and international conferences. In 2018, she won a scholarship for participation in EATAFL conference in Brighton, UK. And in 2023, she won a scholarship for participation in the same conference in Harrogate, UK. Currently, Ms. Koifman is a PhD candidate at Atlantic International University, USA, and researching teaching students with special education needs. So welcome on the stage, Ms. Julia. We are eager to hear from you. Welcome.
Thank you, Corina. Yes, and I'd like to share my screen. Can you enable me?
I think you can share now.
Just a minute. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. This is my presentation and a summary of my thesis. I have almost graduated from the Atlantic International University, the USA. I'm going to receive my diploma in some months, and I have already published a part of my thesis. Later, I'll talk you about my work, and I'll give you a link to my thesis. Well, and here is my program. First, I'll tell you about psychology of learning and about the differences between special education needs, SEN, and the learning difficulties, or LD. You will know about sources of learning disabilities and then main sorts of neurodiversity, such as dyslexia, ADHD, and ASD, or autism spectrum disorder. Since I am a special education teacher, I'll share my experience how to work in heterogeneous classes and involve all the kids in the process of studying, or to do my best, to try my best to make them interested, engaged, and motivated to study. And in the end of this talk, I'll tell you about some examples how famous people with severe learning disabilities became successful. And you know some of them, but I'll tell about it later. Well, let me start my presentation with the psychology of learning. As it is known, childhood is the time of learning. Young kids are very curious, and they learn every day, every hour, every minute, and every second. And they even have no idea while they are learning. Well, psychologists often define learning as gaining knowledge, new experience, and relatively permanent behavior change. Babies and toddlers explore their surroundings. When they start speaking, before they start speaking, they understand quite a lot of words. For instance, toddlers, when they are 1 year old and a bit more, 1.5, they don't speak yet, but they do what their parents and other relatives tell them to do. For example, bring me the toy, or do these things. And if a child follows you, you have nothing to worry about. But later I'll tell how to recognize kids with learning disabilities or future or potential learning disabilities at a very young age. Multiple practices, such as communication with parents, kindergarten teachers, peers, and others, enable young kids to quickly and accurately recognize familiar words. And then when they start speaking, their vocabulary grows rapidly. Oh, sorry, I have some technical problems. Do you see my screen? Excuse me, do you see my screen?
Yes, yes,
okay.
go on,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, now it's okay. Well, and if a child doesn't react to what parents tell him to do, or misunderstands, it's the reason to worry, because he might have learning disabilities, for example, ADD or ADHD, or maybe future dyslexia. Well, now I'll tell about the differences between special education needs and learning disabilities. Well, Learning disabilities are such disorders as dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, aphasia or dysphasia, auditory processing disorder, or visual processing disorder. Just such types of neurodiversity that are the obstacles that create obstacles while the child is studying. But spatial learning needs, it's something more global. You see, in practice, young teachers are often confused what it means, learning difficulties or special education needs. Okay, special education needs includes many more problems. For instance, challenges with communication, learning challenges, physical disabilities, emotional or mental disorders, behavioral disorders, and intellectual giftedness. You see, gifted kids. I have written some articles about gifted kids. So you see, giftedness is also a sort of neurodiversity, and sometimes gifted kids also have learning disabilities. For instance, they can be genius in music, math, sport, art, and they might have problems with spelling, or they might have dysgraphia and many more problems. Perhaps some other day I'll give a presentation about gifted kids. Okay, well, now let's continue. Where do learning disabilities come from? There are three sources of learning disabilities, mainly genetics. Dyslexia and other types of neurodiversity often run in families. Thus, if parents and grandparents had learning disabilities, their children are more likely to have them. Oi, what's going on? Oi, what's going on? What's going on? Oi. Sorry, it's not my fault. Okay. Well, can you hear me? Excuse me.
Yes, yes, Julia, we could hear you.
Yeah,
And we could see
I had some technical problems. Well,
Sorry
okay.
for that.
The other problem is trauma and diseases. For example, brain compassion or infections. And the next problem is social problems. For instance, kids with poor families or with abusive parents and from other environments, not very good social environment, might have social problems. Thus, in Israel, I have met a lot of refugees from Ukraine who escaped from war, and children initially they didn't have any learning difficulties, but now they have severe problems, probably because they have depression and post-traumatic syndrome, and which makes their learning very difficult. Well, okay, so let me tell you more about three sources. genetics. You see, genetic reasons run in families, but it's not compulsory that the child will inherit learning disabilities. The child might inherit, but not necessary. Traumas and diseases are more severe sources of learning disabilities. Accidents, head traumas, meningitis might cause problems with memory, sight, hearing, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, and dysgraphia. Well, and finally, there are social problems. As I have already mentioned, wars and conflicts in the country cause severe problems to children, as well as natural disasters. For instance, tsunamis or earthquakes. Thus, recently there was a severe earthquake in Turkey, and people have problems. As a result, children grow in poverty, have a post-traumatic syndrome, depression, and physical disability. And another social problem is bad parenting and growing in a poor neighborhood. As a result, children have low self-esteem and lack of motivation. Well, how to diagnose kids? What's up? Okay. Well, okay. Who diagnoses? And it's clinical psychologists, school psychologists, child psychiatrist, and then educational psychologist, developmental psychologist, neuropsychologist, and psychometrist. If children have learning disabilities, they should have a consultation with these specialists. Well, okay. And now, dyslexia. According to Dr. Johnson, dyslexia is not a brain disorder. It can be defined as severe reading disability, severe learning disability, specific reading disability, profound reading disability, reading impairment, and the difficulty processing letter-sound relationship. Thus, children have problems with decoding. And how to treat this problem? As for inclusive practice, if a child studies in the regular classroom, learning should be differentiated. What does it mean? The teacher shouldn't give too much exercises to a child who suffers from dyslexia. Thus, a child can differentiate the exercises. For example, the easiest exercises can be marked with 1 star, the more difficult exercise with 2 stars, 3 stars, and so on. What else works well? The classes should be computerized. What does it mean? Children should work on computer, and they can use their mobile devices in order to escape spelling mistakes, spelling and writing mistakes. that create frustration, they can use electronic devices. Moreover, it works well if children and work on computers, especially those who have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Well, children with ADHD are distractible. It means that they cannot sit still. They are often unfocused. It's difficult for them to follow the instruction. They often misunderstand the teacher. Some of them are hyperactive and others are hyperpassive. Of course, we remedial teacher don't use this terminology, hyperpassive. They just listen to the teacher, but they don't hear what the teacher is saying. And they often unfollow the teacher. Although they try to listen, they often unfollow. What should the teacher do? Enable the distractible kids to work on electronic device and to pay more attention. It doesn't matter if the education is inclusive in the regular classroom or in a special education school or special education class. Well, dysgraphia. The symptoms of dysgraphia are poor and unreadable handwriting, incorrect or odd spelling, incorrect capitalization, using incorrect words, or children often miss grammar. They misunderstand grammar rules, they skip words, or the teachers cannot understand their handwriting. Well, in Israel, such kids are offered computerized exams, including final exams. Thus, in the 11th and 12th grades, children do exams on computer and they type. Moreover, what works well with children with dysgraphia, dyslexia, and ADHD? Virtual self-checking exercises. When they can do them online and they can do them until they do it well. So you can give them as many attempts as they need. You shouldn't restrict their attempts to 2 or 3. Enable them to do the exercise as many as they want. Okay, and now autism spectrum disorder. Well, what does it mean? It takes a lot of time to tell. I am pressed for time. So mainly children have trouble communicating. Besides, gifted kids also have often have ASD. It makes them difficult to make friends, to make eye contact, and they have difficulties in reading body language, but they focus on minor details and ignore something important. Okay. To make such kids speak English, the teacher can play with them such games as feelings. For example, look at this picture. What is a person doing? Is he or she smiling? How is she smiling? Could you smile yourself? Oh, look at this picture. The child is sad. Could you imitate him? What is your face expression when you are sad? and the child needs to imitate. Okay, and now look at this picture. The child is frustrated. Could you imitate it? How do you behave when you are frustrated? So these are the exercises that can help you develop their emotions. Well, and so cognitive ways of overcoming dyslexia. It must be a psycholinguistic approach to teaching. Teachers must use learning technology. The lessons might be student-centered. What does it mean? In special education classes, where there are up to 8 students in each class, all the kids are different, but a remedial teacher manages to give enough attention to each student. If a student studies in the regular classroom, the teacher should help him during the lesson. The teacher must help everybody. But if a student has learning difficulties, the teacher must ask, are you okay? Don't be shy to ask for help if you need. And of course, the teacher must help. And now, a miracle or hard work. Here are the successful people who had a difficult childhood. Some of them had special education needs or learning disabilities, and some grew up in poor families. You know all of them: Leonardo DiCaprio, Albert Einstein, Carol Greeder, a scientist, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Charles Darwin, Pablo Picasso, and Alexander Pushkin, a Russian poet. These people lived in the times when they were kids, when people didn't know anything about special methods of teaching kids with learning disabilities. So maybe it's a miracle, but nowadays hard work and educational therapy and many other methods enable teachers to help their students make progress. Even kids with severe learning difficulties, many of my students finished school successfully, and now they study in colleges or universities. I have told very little about what is written in my thesis. Here is a link to my thesis. If you are interested, you can make a QR code and download it. If you want a copy, maybe a free copy, in India, it can be delivered freely till Sunday, the 26th of March. Okay, well, so you're welcome to download the code. Yeah, and now I see that there are a lot of messages. Well,
yes, thank you very much, Julia. Actually, some of the messages are from, let's say, sick people. I don't know how you can categorize them. Anyway, we are going on a very great presentation, and we hear a lot about the concept of inclusive education from you and from your experiences. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, I see that there are very many messages, but excuse me, dear colleagues, why did you come here? If you're not interested in my presentation, you should leave the forum. It's a very, very bad idea to write bad things. Okay, anyway, thank you very much.
Those persons are with special needs, some of them. Sorry for the others, sorry.
Oh.
But yes, some of people who join.
So, dear colleagues, if you are not interested, you should have left the forum. Anyway, Ramadan Kareem to those who are celebrating. And thank you for your attention. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Julia. So let's go on, because we will not stop, okay? And it's my pleasure now to invite Rita Aguilar Gonzalez, PhD in Science Education, Bachelor in Business Administration, Teachers Training, Master of Education in the area of Teaching and Investigation, Master in Didactic and Innovation in English, PhD in Science Education, several certifications from ConoChair Evaluator, as well as diplomas, courses, and certifications in the educational, technological, and English areas. She currently works as the academic director of a training and evaluation institute for ConoChair, teacher and part of the synod at the Instituto de Estudios Superiores in Guadalajara. National de Militares y Profesionistas, maybe it's in Mexico, writing, General Marcelino Garcia Barragan, AC, Civil Association with 5 guiding axes: education, health, work, housing, and security in favor of society. Federal Commissioner in Jalisco of the International Commission of Human Rights, active member of the United Nations Organization for Human Rights and Native Communities, Secretary of Internal Affairs of the Saldana Caro organizations with items in cooperatives, trade unions, and civil associations for professionals. She is also international researcher of education by CDFED and active member of REDOLAC, Network of Teachers of Latin American and the Caribbean, Continental Director North America in Global Education Educational Network, international speaker in Spanish and English languages, awarded the Juan Gil Preciado Award for her career in education in the state of Jalisco in 2018. Wow, impressive. Welcome, dear Rita. Most welcome on the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that presentation, Karina. I am very happy. I'm very pleased to be here with you again. And well, we saw Julia's very, very impressive presentation talking about very specific special needs. Well, I'm gonna talk about general. I'm gonna talk about what special needs, what inclusive education is, and how we could work it in school, and sometimes in our house too, in society. I'm going to start sharing. I guess you could see my slides, right? Yes, okay. Well, Karina already presented me. I am Rita Aguilar Gonzalez. I am from Mexico, and I am very pleased to be here with you. Good morning, greetings from Mexico. I know some of you are in the afternoon, and for some it is evening. Well, let's begin. These are some pictures that we could see what special needs or inclusive education may tell us about. Okay, first of all, I would like you to think if integration or inclusive education is the same. What do we do? Do we integrate or do we include? So as I am talking, as I am presenting this, I would like you to be thinking, what are we doing in school? What do we think? It is very important, especially for us here in Mexico, because all the schools in Mexico should be inclusive. All the schools, according to our program, our Board of Education, must have inclusive education. But I always wonder, I always ask myself, when I see schools, when I see teachers teaching, when I see students in a classroom, is this integration? Or are we really talking about inclusive education? So we're going to begin making ourselves think if we are really up to inclusive education. Okay. Let's see. Now let's separate what is special needs and what is inclusive education. Did you know that the concept of children, and well, I took this definitions as it was written, but I'm not talking about children only. We're talking about adults, youth with special educational needs. Extends beyond those who may be included in handicap categories to cover those who are failing in school for a wide variety of other reasons that are known to be likely to impede a child's optimal progress. Yes, most of the time we think about special needs, we see handicapped children or handicapped persons. Okay, that is special needs. That is why when we talk about inclusive education, we say, okay, we have a child in a wheelchair. We are including, but that is not it. Julia already told us that special needs is not only handicapped. These children are in need of additional support, which depends on the extent to which students need to adapt their curriculum, teaching, and organization, and or to provide additional human or material resources so as to stimulate efficient and effective learning. So that means that when special needs must include a different type of organization. Teachers must learn different techniques to help them. And now let's see what inclusive education means. Isn't it the same? Well, no, it's not. Yes, we need inclusive education for special needs, children, young people, adults. Inclusive education means that all students attend and are welcomed by their neighborhood schools in age, appropriate regular classes, and are supported to learn, contribute, and participate in all aspects of their life in school. We're only talking about school, but I think that inclusive education has to do with inclusive culture. We must integrate it. We must include it in every part of our life, not just in school. Inclusive education is about how we develop and design our schools, our classrooms, our programs and activities so that all students learn and participate together. Yes, so it's not just about saying I have a special classroom so that special need could go there and could take classes. It's not just about that. is not just about having them in the classroom, having children, having young adults, having adults, yes, with special needs in a classroom with other children. It has to do with how we develop and how we design everything that has to do with their education. Now, in November, on the year of 2008, inclusive education, the way of the future, was one theme, was one of the topics that UNESCO talked about. And what did they say about it? They had this phrase that said, we affirm that inclusive quality education is fundamental to achieving human, social, and economic development. We're talking about 2008, and we're in 2023. Yes, this was in the 48th session of the UNESCO in Geneva. And I don't think there has been a lot of change. We have used the word a lot. We talk about special needs and inclusive education, but as I told you, here in Mexico, I have not found the difference between before 2008 and now in 2023. Then we came up with the ONU Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals for the Agenda 2030. Yes, that it has to be worldwide. We have to change the world, and we have to support children, people, young adults, everybody, yes, with different goals to make this world better, to save our planet. But number 4, yes, says quality education. Yes, we're asking that in 2030, every part of the world, every person in this world has quality, will receive quality education. The purpose is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. For all means children, youth, and adults. Yes, and it means children, youth, adults, young adults with special needs, without special needs, in the mountains, near the rivers, near the ocean, in the city. It means every place, and it means quality education. It's not just have somebody, a teacher that teaches us to learn, to write. No, we need this teaching, writing skills with quality for every person in the world. This is one of the goals, and this is one that leads us that we should have inclusive education. Now that we know the difference between special needs, and now that we know what inclusive education means, what are the benefits of having inclusive education in our school, in our hometown, in our country, in our city, in our state, every place? What are the benefits? Well, some benefits are that all the students must benefit from inclusive education, all students. And it develops individual strengths and gifts with a high and appropriate expectations according to each individual expectation. Because this does not mean that all the students that are in one classroom or in one school have the same expectations. And we as teachers, we as school must learn and must guide them, each student, to develop their individual strengths. Yes, and with high expectations, not because they are in wheelchair, not because they have dyslexia, not because they have a special need, means that they don't have high expectations. It also benefits them because they work on individual goals and while participating in the life of the classroom with other students. Just what I mentioned. It develops friendship. They get to have that relation, that friendship relation with other students, with normal students, if we might say, with students with special needs. And that doesn't have to do nothing of being friends. So they are able to develop that friendship and learn from other students. It has a positively effect. Yes. Why it couldn't be? When we are with someone that accepts us with our problems, with our special needs, with any other difference from them, and they accept us as we are, it has a positive effect. So of course, these children, these people with special needs need this effect. It involves their family in their education. It also makes them belong to this community, in this inclusive community, where everyone is accepted. Those are some benefits, but well, how? Okay, this sounds very, very good. I mean, it sounds magnificent. It sounds so wonderful. I mean, it's a peaceful world. Yes, if everybody was included in school. But what are those steps? How can I change my school? How can I change my teaching to become an inclusive education? Well, first of all, we must accept in school all students in a regular class. We must not put them aside. We must not have a special classroom, as we have all maybe been to a school. Well, this is a classroom for special needs children. This is a classroom for people with a wheelchair. No, they must be together in the same classroom. They must provide, or we must provide as much support to students, teachers, and classroom as necessary. What do they need? We have to change maybe the chairs. Maybe we need to change the design of the school. Maybe the door is too narrow. Maybe we need it a little bit wider. Yes, all those necessities have to be changed. We have to support. We have to provide them, or the school has to provide them. Yes, so that all students must be in the same classroom. Look at all the students for what they can do rather than what they cannot do. Yes, we must always think positive. Let's see, you cannot maybe in a wheelchair, and I'm using a wheelchair because those are, I think that the examples that we could really see them clear. And we don't have to know much about special needs, because we know that we could see that they are in a wheelchair and they are different. Maybe they cannot run. And that is why the physical education teacher will not include, yes, and I'm talking about including, yes, not integrating, because they integrate them, and we're gonna see later on, because they are there. And that is why they think this is inclusive. But no, they have to include them, and maybe they are not going to run. But maybe they could bounce the ball. Maybe they could call out something that is needed. Yes, there are games that they could be included in that the wheelchair is not going to forbid it. So that is why we have to check what they can do rather than what they cannot do. We have to develop educational goals according to a student's individual abilities. Yes, we have to help them and say, this is what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to study? What is your goal in education? Okay, now let me see how I could develop that goal according to your abilities. And this is for everybody. It doesn't have to be with students with special needs. We're talking about everybody. We have to check individual abilities to see what their educational goal will be and help them develop it. We have to restructure schools and classes in ways that focus on individual reaching their potential. How could we help them reach their potential? Yes. How could we restructure school programs, classes, teaching methods? Yes. So that they could reach their goal. We need strong leadership from school principals and administrators. They have to be great leaders. Yes. To help inclusive education be promoted in their schools. Have teachers knowledgeable about different ways of teaching and learning. They have to know, they have to learn what are those different techniques, those different methods in teaching and learning according to the special needs students that they have in their classroom or that they might have. Yes, that doesn't mean that at this moment they don't have anybody and they don't need to learn. They have to learn. Teachers have to communicate in sign language. Yes, even though they don't have a student at that moment. Yes. Have principals, teachers, parents, students, and others work collaboratively. We need everybody to be integrated in this inclusive education. Yes, we don't have to work apart. We don't need a teacher to be a star and to have all this knowledge about how to participate and how to help teach children with special needs. We need everybody, the complete school, even parents. They have to integrate and help other students with special needs. We need the community, the neighborhood to help us and to work side by side, to work in pairs. We need parents to take seriously. Yes, we need to take them seriously, especially parents with dreams and goals for their children's future. This means parents that have children with special needs. We need them to help us, and that is why we have to take them seriously. Yes, we have to listen to them, see what we can do in school to help them, to help their children establish and complete their dreams. As we see, those are some positive steps that we could take in school, maybe step by step, maybe little steps before we continue. But any step and every step that we take is going to help our school. It's going to help our children, our young adults, our adults to learn and to feel comfortable in this inclusive education. Yes. But as always, there are negative things. Yes, we always have positive things and negative things. And what are those drawbacks that we have when we are trying to make our school inclusive, when we are trying to get an inclusive education for those students that have special needs? There has always been a lack of commitment on part of the implementers. Yes, there is always, okay, as I told you, as I said as an example, here in Mexico, every school now should be inclusive. But it's very interesting, and maybe this is a new idea, and we're going to work on this new idea, and we start working. And maybe there is someone that is very interested in going ahead and having this implementation of inclusive education. But then there is always somebody else that doesn't want to, has no interest. So that always makes us have this drawback and not go forward with our inclusive education in our school or in our classroom. There is an absence of screening and assessment tools. Yes, this is very expensive, and sometimes the school does not have that much economic resource to put and implement all these assessment tools that are needed to continue and to have this inclusive education. There is limited capacity in our school, and capacity maybe with our teachers. There is limited awareness. Sometimes we're not aware that our students have these special needs. There are some special needs that they are not physical, that they are mental, and we are not instructed. We don't know. We are not taught to look at those awareness, to catch those awareness, and to do something for them. Why do students keep failing? Why do students stop learning? Why can't they learn? Oh, something happened here. I can't share anymore.
Please try again to share, please.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mudin. Yes, there it is. So we could see that sometimes we're not aware of what these special needs are and their necessities. There is, as I told you, limited budget and funding. The school does not have enough money to implement the necessities that special needs children or special needs students need in classroom to continue studying. There's lack of data. We don't have much information about it. Yes, there are, okay, really, my congratulations to those schools that have taken the time to study, to look for information, or to construct information, as Julia has done. Yes, but there are many schools that have lack of information, that they don't have the time, they don't have that information with them to really know about what is happening with those special needs children. There is limited provision of educational services. Yes, there is not enough educational services for children with special needs, or for students with special needs. There is a rigid curriculum. Teachers, yes, maybe take 2-3 hours of teaching method for these students with special needs, but that is not enough. We need more, or there is only few teachers with that those abilities that are needed. And well, we don't have those teachers cannot be in all the places, cannot be in all the classrooms. Yes, there is an inaccessible facility and unsafe school environment. Yes, and I think everybody knows a special case about bullying. Yes, bullying is, I mean, right now here in Mexico, it's heard so much. We just had a student that was assassinated in a classroom because of bullying. Yes, maybe she had special needs, and we don't know how. We have not taught, we have not educated our children at home, our students at school, how to treat, how to be respectful with those students with special needs. So there is an unsafe school environment for them. There are insufficient teaching, learning materials, stationaries, and assistive devices. We don't have schools that have all this learning material. So there is a lack of this teaching learning material in many or in most of the schools. So that enable us to really have an inclusive education as it should be to cover all those special needs in our schools or in many schools. I am talking about many of the schools here in Mexico, which I think it happens in all the world. Okay. And so now that we understood a little bit about inclusive education, yes, I don't know if you even thought while I was talking about what is the difference about integrated and inclusive education. I don't know if you have taken the time, yes, to think about it. And if you didn't, well, let me tell you a little bit about it. Let me tell you the differences about integrated or inclusive education. What is it? What are we doing in school? Are we integrating or are we including? This is a very, very simple chart where we could see what integration is. We see all those little dots, which mean our students, our people. And then we have a little circle inside in integration, right? Right here. Then we have a circle that is separating those students with special needs. And all these students are the ones that are supposed to be normal, right? And here we are integrating. They're all together, right? But they're separated. Yes. And now inclusion. Here inclusion, they're all in the same circle with no division. It's not no other group. It's all together. Maybe this little dot is a special needs student. Maybe this one is here. Maybe this one in the middle. Yes. They're all together, working together, playing together, learning together. So I found these definitions that said inclusion refers to the process of educating the students, the children, so that they can participate in classroom events. However, integration is the process in which children with special educational needs have to adjust according to the mainstream education system. Okay, it's not made for them. We have children with special needs, they have to adjust to what is in school. And that is not inclusive, that is integration. We just have them there, but you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, if you have lack of sight, well, maybe come closer, or it's maybe not my problem as a teacher, but it is. Yes. So that is the difference between inclusion and including and inclusion, integrating and inclusion, sorry. And this is what inclusion is: about needs of a whole community, about understanding your school community, valuing everyone, not an add-on or an afterthought, celebrating diversity and individuality, valuing other cultures, knowing and understanding the needs of all pupils, not just about the IEPs, changing the way things and organizing so that they suit pupil needs, more than just a policy, providing flexible learning, not just about access, yes? Everybody's responsibility, reflecting our practice. So this inclusion includes culture, yes? Diversity, special needs, physical needs, mental needs. Everything is inclusion, not just having them and integrating them. Well, thank you very much. I hope I was clear, and I hope you learned a little bit, or maybe you just had another overview about what inclusion education and special needs means. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rita. You was not only clear, but everything was up to mark, let's say. I totally agree with you that in schools, we need more materials. We need even more trained teachers who knows how to work with such of students who has special needs, because yes, they are similar with the other students. So we must not only integrate them, but we must include them in our classrooms.
Yes.
So we discussed the meaning of inclusive education today and explore ways that you can implement it within the classroom. Both our guest speakers, I think, gives you great ideas and maybe why not models for the new approach of the topic in the future. A fair and inclusive environment makes for a happy and healthy classroom. Teachers strive to maintain optimal classroom settings, and one of the best ways to do so is to implement inclusive education. What actually is inclusive education? We can define inclusive education as a teaching model whereby all students, regardless of their ability, learn together in one environment, as Rita said, in the same classroom. The aim of an inclusive education environment is to ensure that all students are treated fairly and get equal opportunities. Within an inclusive education environment, student diversity and uniqueness should be celebrated without discrimination. Rita said the same in her last slides. So the implementation of inclusive education is vital for the development of all the students. With that, thank you everyone for being here with us tonight. And I hope you get clear ideas and points related to the topic discussed. Till next time, please stay close and tuned, because Global Educational Network is coming up with different webinars. Till then, please don't forget to fill in the attendance form in order to get your certificate. If you have questions, you may text in chat box, and our guests are here to answer to you. We will stay 2 minutes more in order people to get their attendance link and to fill it. So till then, thank you once again, Rita. Thank you once again, Julia. Great presentations. I am very humble and let's say very proud that I know you both, and I can learn from you, because your experiences, your teaching methods, and everything you shared with us was really something which all of us need for the future of a better classroom. Thank you once again.
Thank you. And according, talking about the messages that they have been sending, I don't know, even if this is inclusive, we're talking about inclusive. I don't think that is necessary. Maybe people that are here that are not interested in these topics, and they just make us have a bad moment. Maybe they must be included in they must integrate themselves in other webinars,
Exactly.
or in other spaces. So I think that inclusion has to be with respect, has to do with respect.
Exactly.
So please respect everybody here, respect us, that we took our time to construct these presentations, to share it with you, because we think this is very important. So I think that there must be a lot of respect for everybody, and really, all the way here from Mexico, my best wishes for all of you, yes, and for you to know where you should be integrated, yes, and not in these
Exactly,
type of
good point.
webinars. Right?
Uh-huh.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I
Anyway.
agree with you, Rita. Thanks everybody for your attention. And I want to add what Rita has just said. Please respect the speakers, and those who are not interested, you should leave, but not to write anything bad in the chats. Okay, thank you very much.
With that,
Thank you, Corinne.
I think, thank you too. It's my pleasure to be here with you tonight. I hope all the speakers, all the participants fill the registration form. So wish you a great evening or a great day. Like in Mexico, it's still morning there. So have a good day, Rita, and other who their time is it's morning. Thank you once again to all of you. Thank you, Mohiuddin. He actually is sick nowadays. That's why he cannot join us, but by heart and by mind, he is with us all the time. Thank
Yeah.
you, and see
Have
you
a good
again
weekend, everybody.
next time. Great
Okay.
weekend to all of you. Bye-bye.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you. Have a
bye-bye,
good day.
and,
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, and we'll meet each other on next webinars. Okay,
Exactly.
goodbye.
Yes.
Stay close.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.